Hello there, and a very warm welcome to Chazingdra Chats, the show where we take a stroll through the life stories of people in the Pokémon community, discovering the 6 Pokémon on their dream team along the way. I'm Charlie Merriman, merry by name, merry by nature, otherwise known as Chazingdra, a host and commentator for the Pokémon Video Game Championship Series, and a content creator. And this week, as every week, I very much hope my guests and I can make your day merry, because I have the honour of being joined by TRUEGREEN7, otherwise known as Ron. Ron, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I just realized your name is basically what happiness, and that's the same with me. Both like my first and last name literally mean happiness.
Really?
Yeah, that's Ron is in Hebrew is happiness, and Sroor, my last name, is Arabic for happiness.
Wow. So okay. Hey, it's the collab that was always meant to be. We never knew it until right now. Okay. Merriman meets Merriman. Well, I'm pleased to hear it, Ron.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, lovely to meet you as well. Ron and I, we haven't met in person. I'm in the UK. Ron is over in the US. But thank you.
We may have been in the same room actually. If you were in 2022. The World Championship in London.
Yes, I was. Yeah, I was spectating. Wow. Okay.
Cool. I probably saw you.
We are not even a minute in, and all of these realizations,
all these connections,
going to the floor.
We're the same person.
Wow, that got deep very quickly. Yeah, well, unfortunately, we didn't cross paths in person there. But I got to give a shout out to Dusty Gogo, one of the hosts of the Hidden Power podcast, who I have featured on the show as well, for putting us in touch. So thank you to you, Dusty, and Ron. For anyone who's not so familiar with you, can you give a brief introduction to yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Ron. My channel is TRUEGREEN7. It's basically just a general Pokemon channel. It definitely started out as just that, where I was making opinion or fact or just any kind of videos about Pokemon that I wanted to. Slowly evolved into just basically general Pokemon art related videos. A lot of my videos nowadays is me designing Pokemon, bringing other people to design Pokemon with me. A lot of collaborations with a lot of other either artists or YouTubers. I do a lot of mega collabs with other Pokemon YouTubers, whether it be we just did a challenge where we each person picked a Pokemon and made an outfit based on that Pokemon, did a little vlog creating that outfit. A lot of various collabs like that is usually the most exciting kind of stuff I do on my channel.
And it's all really fascinating stuff. I was going to call out that very video as well, Ron, that I watched recently. Really good idea. Not cosplays, just outfits that you could wear down the town, inspired by the designs of Pokemon. And it's something that really got my cogs whirring. So yeah, I cannot wait to take a deeper dive. And in fact, Ron, it was over... little did I know it at the time that I'd be here interviewing now, but it was over lockdown when I first came across one of your videos. Oh, yeah. And yeah, I'm having one of those sort of out-of-body moments right now. Fast forward 4 years, and I'm talking to you on a podcast. Very, very strange. But thank you for helping entertain my lockdown experience.
You're welcome. Thank you. I mean, that's definitely... Well, we'll get to my stages of my life, I guess, but that was definitely when my channel had a whole shift in trajectory, I guess, during the pandemic.
Yeah, so, well, stick around to hear more about that. Shall we do this now, Ron? Shall we take a deeper dive?
I guess so.
Alrighty. Let's get to know you better. Let's get to know the 6 Pokemon you're choosing for your dream team. What we're starting off with here, very appropriately, your childhood.
I feel like that's where most people become Pokemon fans. Yeah. I honestly don't know anybody who was exposed to Pokemon first as an adult. I'm trying to think. Did that ever happen? It should happen more often now, I think. But yeah, that's when basically at the age of 4, I guess, is when I first saw my first Pokemon, whether it be as a toy or I guess my mom just got me some VHS tapes and we started watching the first season, literally straight from the beginning. Actually, Pokemon, I was born the same year as Pokemon, so I always had Pokemon in my life. But I guess when I became a real fan is when I started drawing Pokemon, I guess. Even from the age of 6, I was drawing my own Pokemon. A lot of them were just bootleg Pokemon, really. I was just drawing Deoxys and giving it a different name. But there was almost a time where I got caught off of Pokemon. I was playing my first real Pokemon games were Ruby and Sapphire, and at the age of, I guess, 7, it was really hard to understand where to go after the 5th gym in Ruby. After Norman, you don't know how to get Surf in specifically Ruby, it's like you have to basically just go to the house next to the gym and get surf. But I didn't know for months, and I was about to quit playing Pokemon until a random person overheard me in school and said, by the way, surf is right there. And then that literally, if I didn't get that kind of advice, I would have stopped playing Pokemon. I would have been frustrated, and then I wouldn't have been a Pokemon fan. But I finally got surf, and then I was able to cross the water to the second half of Hoenn, and then that is when I was locked in. That's when I was a lifelong Pokemon fan, I think. It really is. It is that feeling of like, in real life when you're a child, you have your neighborhood, and you basically don't know anything outside of your neighborhood because usually it's like your parents driving you to places. You don't know the routes. You don't know the location or the way outside of your neighborhood. But then when you're like a little older and you're on your own and you discover the pathways, you discover what's right next to your house or what's been, a few blocks away from you. Like it's always been there. So it's the same thing where like I discovered the second half of Hoenn and it was always there. And I finally unlocked it. And then I think after that also gave me my love for just exploring in general outside of, like from the games, but also in real life where I just love walking. I love discovering what's around me because of that moment. I try to emulate that moment in real life all the time. And while listening to Pokemon music, I mean, that's a huge part of my life nowadays, just listening to Pokemon music while walking around. And it all stems, I guess, from the childhood. But I mean, I guess that does coincide with like me drawing Pokemon does coincide with just my love for like designing characters. And like as a kid, I always was designing a lot of like characters for shows that I would make up because I always wanted to be, I guess, like an animator. And that's, I mean, I guess I don't want to skip to the college portion of my my section, but I've studied animation. I mean, that was the trajectory of, I guess, my life until YouTube. But I was basically making a bunch of different shows as a kid. Technically, my channel even started as like a place for me to just upload. I uploaded like a few videos of my like these like animatics. Basically, they're unlisted. You can't find them. But yeah, that's my love for just creating. I guess in general was what sparked, I guess, my love for Pokemon, my love for animation, and my love for my channel, creating my channel, basically. I'm trying to think of like where my childhood ends. It was a very sad day. Nah, it was actually like I guess there is a moment that marks my like end of my childhood love for Pokemon and transitions into my teenage or adult love for Pokemon, which is basically, so I was watching the anime for like as a kid until I was 12 and I missed one episode because I went to a sleepover. It was during the Sinnoh anime. And because of that, it was like it snowballed into just me stopping to watch the anime because I missed one episode. And that also trickled in, that snowballed into me not playing the game for like a year or two. And that's when I became really a teenager. That's when I lost my childhood, when I stopped playing Pokemon for a year. When I was a kid, I had a I had like a birthday party, and it was like a pool party, but we like watched a movie before it. I made everybody watch Destiny Deoxys. And I'm still like scarred by it. Like, I love imposing my interest in media, the media that I love onto others. But I think that was like a lesson, like to not do that sometimes, or to like actually, or just think about it before, because like you're realizing that people don't understand what's going on in the movie if they weren't Pokemon fans, or like they just started getting bored, or I mean they weren't that bored. It's still an exciting movie on its own, but like I think it was just a huge lesson. It was a huge lesson to like I very much every day of my life when I'm consuming any kind of media, usually Pokemon related media, I'm thinking, how do I introduce this to someone else? If I should introduce, if this is a thing that I just personally like, or is this objectively something that like someone else, that the average person would enjoy, whether it's like Pokemon music or music in general, or Pokemon design. That's actually a big part of my channel, really, just trying to figure out what's like subjectively good and what's like you can't say objectively because it's art, but what is less subjective and actually good.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's something that we always try and strive towards. Yeah, but as you say, it's something that can never truly be attained because the subjectivity just runs so deep in everything that's going on. Would you ever reveal those unlisted animated videos to the public?
No. So I went to like I went to a Jewish private school, and yeah, the first 2 of the 3 that I made, a lot of like inside jokes between my friends, relative some random like jokes that or like literally animating things that happened in school.
Okay.
And half of them are just inside, like they're not half, 90% of them are just inside jokes. So it's like it makes no sense to share it with them.
Well, that's a shame. I'm sure they're much better than you give them credit for anyway. But yeah, if you say you were born in the same year that Pokemon was born and Ruby and Sapphire were your main sort of gateway games into the franchise, then, yeah, you'd have been pretty young, around the age of 7 when the games came out. So, I mean, it makes sense. It seems like that sort of age is the sweet spot. I think with so many people, it's just like you happen to be the right age at the right time to fully appreciate Pokemon for what it was. And yeah, I mean, that for me, it was Generation 2. For you, it was Generation 3. And everyone will have their own answer to that.
And I did technically start with Generation 1 with like the anime. But like I just didn't play the games. I didn't know the games existed until Ruby and Sapphire, I guess.
Yeah, and similar with me, I played Pokemon Blue, but I think I was just a bit young to appreciate it. Now it's time to ask you, what's going to be the first Pokemon joining a Dream Team? So as a reminder, everybody, the aim here is not for Ron to build the most competitively viable team in any way. It's just the Pokemon that have been the most special to Ron over the years, and he can define that in whichever way he would like. I have no idea what they are. He's decided on these in advance, so tell us, Ron, what's Pokemon number 1?
So I decided to not pick like my top 6 favorite Pokemon, but all of the 6 Pokemon that I chose are in my top 50, let's say. They're all favorites of mine, but I definitely picked the ones that are just most interesting in terms of like conveying to the audience why I picked them. So the first one is Absol. I mean, we did mention Generation 3, I guess, but the reason why I chose Absol is because it very much represents that story, like I said, where I discovered the second half of Hoenn after months of trying to figure out what to do and almost quitting the game. So Absol, which is in Route 120, the route after the route that you discover, it very much represented this whole new world for me of like, okay, now I'm a lifelong Pokemon fan. And imagine, like, literally, again, you're playing a video game and you literally cannot unlock the second half of the game.
Yeah.
And then you finally, like, I came home after that kid gave me advice on a Friday afternoon. And Friday afternoons were always the best time to play Pokemon because, like, you have the beginning of the weekend. You're not going to do homework on Friday afternoon. And you're just going to have this, you're going to feel freedom, basically, while playing this game instead of having to hectically, instead of, like, a time limit, like, after, like, on a Wednesday night, you have to go to bed or something. But so I'm on this Friday afternoon, I'm finally discovering the second half of the game, and it's literally this wider area, this, like, jungle, basically, and it feels like unlike anything else in that specific game. And anything like Route 119 and Route 120 are literally probably the biggest upgrade in route in the Pokemon franchise, because before then you have Generation 1 and 2, and then the first half of Generation 3 games, where like the routes are very simple. Like the Kanto and Johto routes are literally just like fields and maybe some valleys and mountains. But like this is the first one, it's a jungle, and it's like and you're discovering jungle Pokemon like Tropius, and like and the music and the rain. Like that's why Route 119 to me, like the music is is probably the most nostalgic theme to me. And then eventually, as you go, you discover Fortree City with the again Treehouse Town. All the towns before this in the entire franchise were just normal towns. Basically, this is the first one that's like it coincides with its environment, has a unique look. And then you get to Route 120, you discover Absol, which is literally probably one of the coolest Pokemon that is just normal, just like not a normal type, but just like a normal regular Pokemon that you can encounter. And you also even hear the cries of Absol, and in the background, like in the Generation 3 games, the fact that you can hear the cries also makes it feel so lush. And then that's it. After that, I was literally a lifelong Pokemon fan because of that. because of those two roots. But I think what made me think of Absol like forever was whenever, like as a kid, whenever I would have to be in like a dark place, like physically, not mentally. Like let's say I'm in the basement or like I'm at night and I have to go down the stairs or whatever. Or in an alley for some reason. I do like night walks. I walk at night sometimes. Whenever I'm just scared in a dark place and I have to like quickly get out of there, I pretend like there was an Absol watching me and like protecting me. It's very, and it really it helps. Like even nowadays as an adult, if I'm just thinking of like, let's say I'm at night and for some reason I'm thinking of scary monsters, I don't know. I just pretend either there's a Pokemon near me protecting me, or I just have a dialogue with the monsters, and then like the monsters talk to me like normal people. Like and I'm like, hey, why were you scaring me? And I'm like, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I didn't mean to scare you. I was just sitting there. You can go to sleep. Sorry. So that's just that technique of just not being afraid of stupid things like that. Stems from Absol. Wow. Naturally, that is I guess the lore where he's just there in the background to warn people of disasters. But also, I guess that this is like a nerdy reason, but like the typing, like the dark type would be physically, super effective against ghost and psychic, which was what a ghost or an alien or a monster would be. Like in real life.
Yeah, no, it's a really fascinating way of putting it. And it makes sense, your fascination with these jungle roots makes sense of some of the iconography you have on your channel at the start of your videos, for example, emerging from the trees, your name. And if anyone is thinking, Route 119, how does that go? It's on tip of my tongue. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, but... Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I can't wait to talk to you more about Pokemon music later because it's such an underrated part of the franchise, I think. But everybody, if you're enjoying this chat with Ron, then please do like and subscribe. It really does go such a long way and much further than it might seem. We have so much more to dive into here, Ron, so let's move straight on with it. So, what we're going to talk about next, we've done childhood, now time to talk about high school.
So, as we said, I guess my childhood ended with me just not playing Pokemon for a few years. But then, Black and White came out. And that's literally Black and White. What's cool about Black and White, even before I started playing it, just the fact that it took place in a region based on the city I live in. Right? The protagonists were literally my age, the age that I was when I was playing them. And then all the Pokemon resonated with me in some way. So, for example, I wasn't playing Pokemon, and I hear about, Black and White comes out in Japan. This is literally the last generation where games come out, separately, between the different locations in the world. So I have a few months to just discover the Pokemon before the game comes out in North America. And it just so happened that on a trip, literally the trip before I entered high school, like a family trip we went to like Canada, went to Niagara Falls. And it was on that trip, my dad finally gave us, or at least just me, like internet on our phones. Maybe it was 3G at the time. I don't know. And so on the road trip, on the phone, I was looking at the designs of every single Generation 5 Pokemon before the games came out. But looking at all the designs and finally just like, again, you're on a road trip, so you have time. I was basically analyzing the designs and forming my appreciation for Pokemon designs, because before then, I liked the designs more than the average person, but I didn't understand like the lore behind every Pokemon and like the reason why everything was designed the way it was. And this was also the first generation where a lot of the Pokemon were based on like Western inspired stuff. And so like obviously as a kid, why would I know why most of the Generation 3 Pokemon like were created, like what the inspiration or origin of a lot of Generation 3 and 2 and 1 Pokemon are just like yokai or just things in Japanese culture that I wouldn't have known. But Generation 5, it was very evident, like, this is a mummy, this is a moth. But then also online, you have like the trivia and various like people telling you, this Pokemon is based on this. So that's when I discovered just the fact that Pokemon are based on things. I mean, it was literally me falling back in love with Pokemon through the designs. and then I started playing Black and White in high school, and then I slowly realized Pokemon is a thing not only that would be in my life forever, but also not something to be like ashamed of, because obviously this was also during the time where the transition where like nerdy things and geeky things were becoming popular. This was like 2012, I guess, where like, you know, you have Marvel, like you have the cinematic universe and like a bunch of just like, and superheroes in general and just fiction and fantasy. I mean, you had like Game of Thrones at the time also was very popular. You had a lot of nerdy and fantasy and sci-fi and things that were just becoming mainstream. So almost everybody around me was feeling comfortable talking about the things that they loved that in the past may have been made fun of as a kid, because, you know, kids are immature. So that included Pokemon, basically, where I was just discovering that everybody around me had some kind of exposure to Pokemon, and appreciated the fact that I was still a Pokemon fan, really. Some of them may have fallen off. Some of them came back. Some of them came back like there were friends of mine who played Pokemon as a kid, stopped as a teenager, so they didn't really know a lot about like modern Pokemon when I was in high school. So I didn't really get to talk to them about Pokemon in high school. But then many years later, once I was like a Poketuber and everything, and like they would come to me and they were like, by the way, I'm a Pokemon fan again. I'm playing the Pokemon games now. And I'm like, why weren't you a Pokemon fan when we were in high school? We could have like had so many fun things. We could have played. We could have talked about it. It's fine though. But the point is, I guess in high school, I just discovered that like I should never like discard any of my interests just because of my age, I guess, or something, or what everybody else is playing. Because it just feels like, whether you know it or not, people are liking the things that you like usually.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think everyone realizes sooner or later that the best way to be is just to lean into the things that you enjoy, and there's no reason for shame about them as soon as you embrace that. I mean, look at you now. If you hadn't embraced the Pokemon side of things, then you might not be in the position you are now, and yet
I would not be talking to you, and that's amazing.
Yeah. There we go. Exactly, yeah. It's fascinating to consider the different routes that our lives would have taken. But yeah, for anyone unfamiliar, the Unova region in Generation 5, that is based on New York City. Your base now.
I guess I forgot to mention that.
Yeah. Well, you said it was, the city where it's based, but yeah.
I was going to say New York City, and for some reason I was caught up on the next sentence or something.
Fair enough.
And then Unova ended up being, I guess, slowly my favorite region. It literally just happened, again, like that, like the starting town in Black and White, Nuvema, is literally based on the neighborhood I grew up in as like as a child, as a small child at least. I also like literally a week ago went. I love to scoot, like an electric scooter. So I just drove to like where I used to live as a kid, and just scooted around, discovering. Like I said, like it's fun discovering the places that you didn't know existed because you were a kid. You didn't know what was around your neighborhood. You literally only knew your block, basically. It was just cool, basically charting my neighborhood as if I was in like a video game, like backtracking. Tying it back to Black and White, it just so happened that, again, even though all of these people in high school had exposure to Pokemon but weren't currently like in touch with the franchise, they were still actually interested in hearing about Pokemon Black and White, because there were controversial games at the time. Like they'll be like, "Oh, I heard there was a ice cream and garbage Pokemon. What's that? What's going on in Pokemon?" And then I'll be like, "No, it's a pretty cool game. It's based on New York, where we currently basically are." And there's so many cool Pokemon, because again, like the Generation 5 Pokedex is the biggest. So like, yeah, you'll have quantity over quality, but because of the quantity, you'll have so many quality Pokemon. So like, there are so many cool Pokemon that a teenager would love, and I would be like, "Oh, look at Bisharp," or look at or look at the Pokemon that I'm about to, I guess, mention if we go into that section.
Yeah, let's do that right now. What's going to be Pokemon number 2?
Number 2 Pokemon is going to be Volcarona. It happens to be, I guess, when I was looking at it is one of my favorite Pokemon. All of the 6 are. But when I was looking at the list of Generation 5 Pokemon on that road trip, there are a few Pokemon that I remember. The first one I remember is Sewaddle, actually, because I'm like, wow, this is a really cute design. I think I'm back into Pokemon now. But but one that made me fully appreciate just Pokemon when it comes to like lore, design, the origin of these Pokemon, like what goes into designing Pokemon, it really is Volcarona. I remember seeing it, and I'm like, what? That's mesmerizing. And then also, it made me slowly realize that I do love bug type Pokemon. When I was doing my just my top 50, when I was compiling my top 50, most people would think, I don't know, my favorite type is grass, or I mean, I thought it was dragon or something, but the type that represents most of my top 50 is bug, and it's tied with dark type, but like bug type Pokemon really are. I guess because I'm not a fan of bugs in real life, I'm more specifically, I'm arachnophobic. Like if there was like a ant, I'm fine with it. I guess Pokemon gives you the opportunity to fall in love with something that you can't in real life. You can't fall in, you could fall in love with a moth, but like I'm not gonna. But that's literally, a fantasy. That's literally role playing. I guess that's the job of a role playing game. It's like, and falling in love with these kind of creatures that you don't like in real life is the ultimate, I guess, role-playing. And Volcarona made me realize that, I guess. But also it made me realize that, yeah, like a bug-type Pokemon can be super pretty while not being like, I guess as a kid you think pretty is something feminine, but like I think Volcarona made me realize that pretty is just Volcarona. like even like just a moth. I mean, moths are, butterflies are traditionally pretty, but like moths, I guess as a kid I wasn't thinking that. But again, he's not even pretty because he's a moth. He's pretty because he's just a well-designed Pokemon. And like, again, I guess he represents, this is just speculation, but like he does look like a seraph, like an angel with like 6 wings and like 6 fiery wings. And I always appreciated like Hebrew mythology. So like that always coincided with that. And just the fact that like you have this scary looking Pokemon and but he's like a good guy in the Pokemon world because he was basically acted like a sun god for people during, bad times. And I think that made me realize why, like, that contrast also in designs and in Pokemon is what makes Pokemon interesting, where you have, again, like a scary Pokemon, but but it's still like mesmerizing pretty, and also the fact that you can like befriend it and it probably is a good kind of guy or vice versa, that a cute Pokemon can be fierce. Like, I mean, Pikachu is probably why it's such a good mascot is because it's cute and cool at the same time, It's not just cute. It has everything, and those are like the best Pokemon, where it's a combination of two things instead of just straight up cute or straight up cool. I think Volcarona made me appreciate that. It represents, again, my love for like backtracking in both Pokemon and the real world, because, I mean, Volcarona literally is that, where you only get it if you backtrack or just like explore places that you don't really need to. Relic Castle.
That's it. Yep.
Going back and backtracking when you get an HM, or just like and discovering like a whole new location, is peak Pokemon to me. And I do that in real life, where again I love just discovering things that were always there but I just didn't have access to. In my walks in a forest or just around a neighborhood.
I totally agree with you. I'm definitely a sort of 100%ist when it comes to it, and I love going back through, you've got all the HMs and you go back through the entire region and access these new areas. Okay, well, Volcarona, welcome to the team. We're going to do our little fiery dance from there over to now Video Club.
So in high school, I was already big. I already loved making videos before high school. Like my dad is a photographer, has like studio like for events, like wedding photography. So like I had access to like cameras and stuff like that at a young age. And I was basically just making videos, home videos, these skits with my brother. Very embarrassing stuff. Like basically like Saturday Night Live style stuff. Just a lot of skits together in like one video. And there just so happened to be a video club in my high school. But I guess I signed up for it, but I did not make it because there was no like tryouts or anything. They didn't verify who could make a video or who was passionate about it. So we had like in our school like video updates, basically like monthly news videos that they would make. Like they would have an anchor and like they would have like different like segments. And I guess they wanted people that were just good on camera instead of like people to make this stuff, because the heads of the video club were already making the stuff. So I guess they didn't need more people to produce the videos. So I didn't make it the first year, but I was still making videos on my own with my friends. I just so happened to upload one of them on like Facebook, and the head of the video club saw it, and he's like, "Wait, what the heck? Why are you not? Why are you not in our video club?" And so the second year I was there, slowly became the head of the video club by senior year. I was in charge of literally all the video production in my school. When I started my channel, I was already literally making videos, and that really changed my life. Like if there was no video club, I don't think I would be making YouTube videos. I don't think. It's a completely different life, honestly. I would still love Pokemon, but it really is the video club that made me just pushed me to make Pokemon videos. I actually made my first video on the channel when I was still in high school. Before I really made the channel, I just made a top 10 favorite Pokemon video in high school, and a lot of people watched it. And again, like, nobody made fun of me for it, and that's what was so cool. It's like, again, like, you'd have like the random like girl who doesn't like Pokemon, but she'll be like, oh, I saw the video, Ron. Oh, by the way, my favorite Pokemon's Charmander, because she's not really a Pokemon fan, but because she's like, oh, she just wants to talk about the video or the random Pokemon that she thinks is cute. It was just a way to. So I guess I had really good positive reinforcement at the time when I was making that video, even from people who didn't care about Pokemon. Because again, I was also public about my love for Pokemon at the time. Like, even a lot of people in the video club were, you know, people like me who were like some kind of nerdy or geeky thing. That consolidated my personality. that club, like, that's it. Like, after that, I'm the guy who likes these various franchises and makes videos because of the video club. I miss making just films. Like, they were all these videos that we were making every month were like short films. I even like made like documentaries. Like, at the end of like high school, we had like a trip in Europe. We were touring various like like, it was like a Holocaust trip. We were touring very like concentration camps and death camps. And I made like a documentary, and I was the only one who got to go on that trip free, because I was doing the documentary. Everybody else had to pay like hundreds of dollars for the trip. It was cool that I got it free, and I got to film and do what I love during that trip. So it was like an easy choice.
Yeah.
So that was like the first like serious, normal, actual like film I made for like the school. I made like a documentary, and literally when I was editing that documentary, I was creating my channel. Like, that was like what I was learning through making that documentary. I even got a mic for the channel, but I used it to narrate that documentary literally that week when I was making it. That last video that I made for my high school coincided with the first videos I was making for my channel as I graduated, like the month between high school and college.
It really does seem like just every step along the way of your life so far was just paving the way for YouTube, really. Everything.
Yeah,
really
it's either Pokemon or making videos.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just coming in. Okay, well, before we move on to that, fully starting your channel, what's going to be Pokemon number 3 alongside Absol and Volcarona?
I just realized I wish I had more like variety in like generations, because I do like all the generations. But we're going with another Generation 3 Pokemon, Zangoose. Never really used him in the game or anything. When I was getting back into Pokemon in high school, I'm like, okay, let me go back, play Emerald, actually finish the Battle Frontier. And I never did, because it's very hard. But I'm like, let me at least try, though. Let me actually try. I remember I was playing the Battle Frontier as a kid a lot, but I never got any kind of symbol. I never won. I never got to it. I got to a Brain. I got to Lucy a few times as a kid, but I never beat her. And again, wow, the Battle Frontier and Emerald really was like a challenge, and it was really each one was unique. It was fun. But in high school, I'm like, let me go back to Emerald. I think the Battle Factory is the most fun and like worth my time, and maybe not the easiest, but it felt like that was the one I had the chance of actually getting to the Brain. I finally got to Noland, and the Pokemon that got me to Noland in the Battle Factory, which is the place where you can't use your normal team, you can only pick rental Pokemon, and the rental Pokemon I chose was Zangoose. Basically, he was cutting down every Pokemon on the way to like Noland. It was like, because again, he had such a diverse move pool. He was normal, so I guess only a fighting type could really hurt it. It was just a perfect Battle Factory Pokemon for some reason. And I'm like, and I'm slowly over this gauntlet falling in love with this Pokemon that I always thought was cool, but it was never like a personal thing to me. And then by the end, get to Noland, this Zangoose beats Noland for me. And I'm like, I think Zangoose is my favorite normal type now, and it still is. Like, it's my favorite normal type. It's like the coolest normal type. It almost borderline isn't normal, because it's like, how is this Pokemon normal? Like, this is so cool. It's basically, it could be a dark type, it could be a fighting type. But I guess I love that. I love that about him, that he's just a normal type, and I want to use him because I remember how diverse his move pool was, even in Generation 3, which is harder. It's harder to have a diverse move pool back then. I want to use him in a playthrough soon. I'm gonna do a mono normal type run of either Emerald again, but I'm probably gonna do just the remakes Oras, because like I already did a mono type run in Oras, just grass types. It was so fun because like whenever you get a TM, for example, that's another it's like it's a big deal, because it's like you get to give your Pokemon more coverage on a team that has literally no coverage because they're all grass types. And since, like, in Generation 6, the TMs are reusable, it's just more fun for like a monotype run. So that's why I may do a ORAS instead of Emerald run. But I want to do Emerald because then I can use a Azumarill. Because it's a fairy type in Generation 6. But I may just still use an Azumarill and Emerald because you need, in ORAS because you need Surf.
ORAS, for anyone unfamiliar, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the remakes of those Generation 3 Ruby and Sapphire games. Okay, Zangoose, running through the Battle Factory for you. Welcome to the team. So now we're going to run over from there into, college and starting your channel.
So, it's not a surprise. I still like making videos, so I'm like, let me make a YouTube channel again, I already made the YouTube channel. That's why the channel name is not a good name. Like, it's TRUEGREEN7. I made it work, but at the time, the reason why I made it when I was 12, when I was just making those animatics, is because I named it after a character from one of the shows that I was making. I made a bunch of different animated concepts for animated shows. One of them was called True Blue, and it was a superhero show, and the sidekick was called True Green. And I like green. Green is my favorite color, not blue. So I'm like True Green. And also True Blue is just like a saying. It's like, True Blue. It's already a phrase. My favorite number at the time was 7. Right now it's 17. But at the time 7, and also 7, you can associate that with green. 7 is like a lucky number. Green is like a lucky number sometimes. A lucky color. No, I'm obsessed with green, so like it makes sense. Like green is my favorite color, and like it's part of my life. Pokemon, I think, is the thing that I know it's the franchise I know the most about. I love the most. And also, I found like a way to not get burnt out from it, like some PokeTubers do. So I think it made the most sense to have that as my topic of my channel, even though like there are other things that I love, just like everybody. I think Pokemon is probably the number one thing that I wouldn't get burnt out of or not get bored of, especially since my channel doesn't revolve around playing the game. It's about talking about the game or creating my own things. It's not like I'm playing Pokemon all day or just consuming Pokemon every second, but it's more that I'm thinking about it whenever I want to think about it, whether it be like through listening to music all the time. I'm literally every day listening to Pokemon music. There's obviously Pokemon surrounding me. All my videos are Pokemon light, where it's like Pokemon is the topic, but it's not like I'm really talking about Pokemon every second in my videos. Like when you're designing a Pokemon, just like any Pokemon, it's based on things. So you get to talk about those things because I'm interested in the world. I'm interested in myths and animals and geography and cultures and history, and like I get to implement that into my designs, right? And that is, I think Pokemon really is the number one way to get people interested in the real world, in things that aren't about Pokemon. Just like I think I'm an advocate in fiction in general being that method of teaching people, but right now we're talking about Pokemon, and I think that when I slowly developed that philosophy, that's when my channel became what it is today, where like the point of the channel is to make people appreciate non-Pokemon things through Pokemon. And because like the first few years, it was just me talking about Pokemon. It was like, again, top 10s, facts, stuff like that. Slowly, when I realized that when people ask you what your channel does, what your channel is, like people don't know what Pokemon is, I had to come up with an answer. And then slowly, I came up with that answer. And that's when I realized, no, that is what I want my channel to be. Not just me describing what I love about Pokemon, but getting people to love Pokemon and the real world, I guess.
That's incredibly insightful. I mean, I've always found in life that the people who are the most interesting to talk to are the most interested in a broad range of things. And you're so right. I haven't thought about it like that. But yeah, Pokemon does just synthesize so many different cultures, so many elements of life, animals, of course, as well. And it gets you thinking, I wonder what that's based on. Then you look it up and then, and your channel is a gateway to that. It's a really fascinating way.
And then you're interested in things that you weren't interested in before because you can relate it to the franchise that you love. And like, I didn't care about plants before Pokemon, but now I'll walk through a forest, I'll look at a plant, I'm interested in that plant, even if it has nothing to do with Pokemon. It could be something that I can turn into a Pokemon, or could eventually become a Pokemon. So I'm literally, I can look around and be interested in anything because of Pokemon, and I'm very glad about that because like happiness, that can mean anything to everybody, but like to me, I will be happy as long as I can be interested in what's around me. And like, even if I didn't, even if my life was terrible, which it isn't, I would still have, for example, the small things like the sunset, music, being able to just appreciate something around me, and then I would still be happy even if things are not going great. And that gives me hope. I guess like my Pokemon gave me my interest in things, which gives me hope because I can always be interested in something, I guess.
A really fantastic way of putting it, and I think there's so much wisdom to be taken from that. So thank you very much, Ron. And now it's time to discover who's going to be joining Volcarona and Absol and Zangoose on your dream team.
So this is it's weird to put this one in the middle, like not first or last. It's going to be my favorite Pokemon, Sceptile. When I started the channel, I'm like, we need a mascot, because back then every PokeTuber had a mascot, and Sceptile made sense because it was my favorite Pokemon, and it was green, and it was cool, and he was, he also, his face kind of looks like a 7 if I stylize it, so that became the logo. I guess I talked about starting my channel, but I didn't talk about college, but I started college literally a month after I started my channel, and I was in the video. I was computer animation. That was my major. I went to the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan. So the first years were basically just general like computer art programs, learning how to use them. One of them was Photoshop. I guess I didn't design my logo in Photoshop. It was actually Adobe Illustrate, but I don't use Illustrate anymore. But one of our assignments was to create a logo of anything, and it just so happened I started my channel. Then I'm like, okay, I'll make my logo for homework. And it worked out. That I got to have a reason to spend like 10 hours just experimenting with the logo and discovering that Sceptile's face does work as a 7. So then after that, I'm not embarrassed about the number in my name. Because again, back then, the reason why it was, the real reason it was 7 in True Green 7 is because True Green was taken back then. So I'm like, okay, I have to put a number. So I put 7. But I was always like, I always regretted that number. But I don't anymore because it really worked out with the logo. So when you see that Sceptile face, that's also a 7 in my icon or in my logo. 20% chance of like changing the name to True Green Ron. But like the Sceptile face really does keep me from doing that. It obviously does represent like, again, when I was getting into the Pokemon franchise as a whole, not just the anime, when I was playing the games, buying the cards, that was during Generation 3. During Generation 3, Ash was his ace Pokemon was basically a Sceptile. Loved that Sceptile. Ash Sceptile was amazing. So cool. But then slowly it just developed into like, remember when I would think about like Absol protecting me in scary places, sometimes Sceptile would be there. Or like if I was, I don't know why road trips are a big part of this. It's not like we went on a lot of road trips or anything, but those were like, because they were a big deal, because we didn't do them often, they were like memories. When you're zooming, on a highway or like next to a forest, I'm imagining a Sceptile jumping on the trees. From tree to tree. It just so happens that I love fast Pokemon that cut. And then I'm like, wow, a lot of Pokemon in my top 50 are Pokemon that slice and are just cool slicing Pokemon. So I guess that's the Pokemon that I like. Like I have literally Ceruledge, Samurott, Goliathspud, Sceptile. Like their signature thing is cutting. Yeah, Sceptile really is just a Pokemon that represents my love, the kind of Pokemon that I like. He just embodies everything. So I guess it makes sense for me to like him. And it made sense for him to be the mascot. And to the branding.
Amazing that you're able to tick off that assignment. Do two things at once. Tick off the assignment as well as come up with the logo for your channel.
I have another. Wait, go look. I have the Mewtwo. Like I have.
Oh yeah.
This one, actually, the Mew I got at the London in the Pokemon World Championship.
Oh, same. That's where I got my Mew.
This
is insane
because it was sold out on the website. So I'm like, I have to get it.
In my mind, you have every single plushie just behind the camera, just ready to pluck out. Well, Sceptile, welcome to the team. Not a surprise to see you here, but now we're going to go from there into therapy.
Oh, sheesh. So as I was starting my channel, slowly it's working out. Channel's thriving, but it didn't become what it was now until after college. But during college, I'm commuting to school, and then I come back. I had like 40 hours. I had 30 hours of homework every week because this is a computer art course. So it's like you're literally making stuff for homework you're spending 10 hours in, animating, 10 hours editing for an assignment or whatever, like in After Effects or in Maya. But I definitely think like I assume I had more homework than the average, university student. 30 hours is ridiculous. But on top of that, 15 hours at home, basically making a video every week. Back then, the videos were 15 hours. Nowadays, they're 40 hours a week. Like, it's a full-time job. But back then, 15 hours. So that's, top 10s, things that are, like, easier to edit. But there were still a lot of, technically more motion graphics than nowadays. Nowadays, my videos, it's like the concepts and like the banter or just like the art that I'm making is the content. But back then, the content was like the motion graphics because like that's what made me stick out from other Pokemon YouTubers. Like I would be making a video that anybody would make like a top 10, but there would be like a lot of motion graphics. It would be like really nice pacing because I was basically doing what I was learning in school. But I was never really implementing my art, like any art. I was never drawing for my videos. It really was just talking about Pokemon. And slowly, like literally, my channel was growing linearly. Like I'm probably like one of the few channels. There was no like boost. Maybe there was boost like during Pokemon Go, or like, I released also like a very popular video on that time that had nothing to do with Pokemon Go, but it just so happened to coincide with people being online talking about Pokemon and looking for Pokemon stuff. Just slowly, everything's building up. And the channel's doing fine. I slowly realized because that I was just commuting to school, working from home. Basically, also all my friends took like a gap year. I went to like a private high school, and while I was not from like a wealthy background, a lot of my friends were. So they were everywhere in the world during college or vacationing everywhere. I also went to school like 45 minutes away from me. Like I was in New York. I went to school in New Jersey for high school at least. So like all my friends weren't around me. Like they weren't near me. So I was just isolated, working. Like even at school, again, I'm not hanging out after class with any friend I made. They were hanging out, going to like dinner, like lunches or stuff like that, while I was just commuting back to home and then working on homework and the channel. So I was basically isolated for like, I just didn't really talk to a lot of people for like a few years, or less than usual. And slowly, while that was happening, the channel is becoming a thing, and every day you're reading comments about you. And it's not like they were negative, like 99% of them are positive, but even positive comments about you make you anxious about how you are perceived. Only the negative ones like stick in your mind and or pop out. Like you'll literally read 100 of positive ones, you won't even consider what's going on, and then a negative one comes, and that's the one that stays in your mind. But even the positive ones, like if they're saying something like, "Wow, Ron, I love, you're awesome," or whatever, then you have like some kind of like persona to uphold, or like you're thinking about everything that you're doing. So slowly, when I'm not really socializing a lot, the channel is causing me to basically consider everything that I'm doing and everything that I'm saying, and literally the only people that you're hearing from are comments instead of real people. Those are the people online are who you're socializing with. I slowly developed social anxiety disorder after realizing that I have social anxiety. I'm like, okay, I should get therapy. From 2014 to 2018, that's when I was in college. And that's when the channel was growing. But everything that I was making was basically generic, as in the concepts of the videos and the topics were what everybody else were doing. The only unique things were my own perspective and or the editing. And even that. And it got to the point where in my mind, what made my videos good wasn't like the content, it was the editing. And that's not what makes for good content. Like you want substance, right? Because I was developing social anxiety, I was constantly like looking at what people thought about me online. So I randomly post on 4chan. But then I was an idiot. I'm like, by the way, I think my channel is high quality and everything. I put a lot of effort. I was as if I'm talking to a person instead of a forum of anonymous people. Over the course of like one night, they'd like rip me apart. Basically, when that was happening, I basically had a anxiety attack. I don't know if panic attack or anxiety attack is the correct. Apparently, only one of them is the real term. One of them is a fake term. It was the first time I had that anxiety attack where like I had an out of body experience. I was like hyperventilating or whatever. But that's also when my channel pivoted to like I would still make like opinion based videos, but it was like when you're making the videos, I would think of different formats. I would think of like unique formats that people haven't done, or like they slowly became like essays instead of top tens, or like the point of the video wasn't just do what everybody else was doing, but better edited. It was more do what I want, and that coincided with me graduating because now I have time to do whatever I want, and that's when I also got therapy. So like I started doing whatever I want on my channel instead of just doing because I didn't have time. I only had time to make top tens basically at the time. I only had time to make fact videos, top tens, things that you can research quickly. Write quickly, edit it quickly. But then I graduated my channel. I could finally do anything that I wanted to in terms of videos. And then also I'm like, okay, I should start getting therapy. So that's when things started changing for the better mentally and also on the channel. But that we'll get to, like, that's also when I started making art videos. That's when I started, I'm like, oh, I love going on walks. Let me design Pokemon based on whatever I see on my walk. And the first video did not that well. So I'm like, okay, this is probably not going to become a series. Maybe I shouldn't do art videos on my channel. But I made another one because, again, I loved that kind of video. So I'm like, okay, let me make another one. You know, second time's the charm. Even if it doesn't do well, that's it. That's the last one in the series. Second video did okay, did normal. So then a couple months later, I'm like, okay, let me finally make a third one. And that video blew up for some reason. I don't know why. There was nothing different about that. That one also was the only one that I didn't go on a walk. It was rainy, so I stayed home and I just made things based on what was around in my room. But that video blew up. Like, it went viral. On the same day, I started therapy. Like, so on the same day I started therapy was the same day my channel pivoted to, like, art videos where, like, okay, now I'm start making art videos.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear about all of those things that you went through. I'm very pleased that you were able to seek the help that you needed. But as you say, before we take a deeper dive into that, now it's time to learn who's going to be Pokemon number 5, joining the team alongside Absol, Volcarona, Zangoose, and Sceptile.
The next one is probably the only one that is like a reach as to how it relates to that topic. But it's Vaporeon. Vaporeon happened to be the first Pokemon I ever saw, really, before I even knew what a Pokemon was. I had this ball, like this bouncy ball. It was like this clear ball, almost like resin, but it wasn't. And inside was a Vaporeon. There was like those official, like, Pokemon toys in Generation 1 where it's just like a ball with a Pokemon inside. Mine happened to be Vaporeon. I just thought it was this cool mermaid. I thought it was very pretty. But then years later, after the ball went missing, I remembered those memories, and I'm like, wait a second, that was a Vaporeon? And then slowly it became my favorite evolution. Because, as a kid, my favorite evolution was, like, Jolteon, something cooler, you know? But then as I became older, I appreciated, like, just the design of Vaporeon. And it basically, if we were to tie to this channel and to my journey, it was when I started appreciating Vaporeon is when I started appreciating, like, designs as art. Like, that's when I started to hone in on how to design a Pokemon, I guess. Evolutions really are purely their type and very simple. Simple's in a way that, it's not like a Ditto, but it's like they don't have extra features. They have exactly the amount of details that they need. Any, like, extra, gem, an extra gem on a Espeon, it's too many gens.
Well, Vaporeon, welcome to the team. And now, let's, before we round out your dream team, talk about post-pandemic.
So, 2018 is when I started, 2019, let's say, is when I started shifting to Pokemon designs, basically. But it was literally like, I was still making normal, general Pokemon franchise content. So, let's say 2019, it was like 20% art. Then 2020, it was like 30%. And then that's when the pandemic starts. And that's when I have also more time to sit at home designing Pokemon, right? That's when I developed my own region. That was a big part of the channel from 2020 to, like, 2021. That was literally what my channel was almost about. Again, it was still like 50% art. Every other video was an art-related video. People were discovering my channel without knowing that my channel used to be just Pokemon general, like top 10s, facts, and like what other Pokemon tubers used to do at the time. Like, people like nowadays who watch my channel don't know that. They think that's what I've been doing since the beginning. But it's only been since, like, 2019. Like, I started the channel late 2014, like mid 2014. Started pivoting towards art 2019, but it only became pure art. Like, it's not pure art. It's still like it's 85% art basically nowadays. But that really started literally 2023 even. Like, 2022, I was still making a lot of non-Pokemon art videos. But by 2023, I'm like, okay, this is what people want to see. That's when I started making art videos where I'm bringing other artists who are now, like, friends of mine and designing Pokemon with them, doing different challenges. And that's also when I because I love doing those, I'm like, let me make more collabs with others, like mega collabs. Like, I'm bringing multiple people onto a video and we're doing mega collabs. To the point where it's like, it could be like 5, it could be 20 or 30. Like the video I mentioned in the beginning, I even started like these like this like unofficial Pokemon awards where just we talk about like the best of Pokemon of that year. I'll bring a bunch of different Pokemon YouTubers or personalities, and I love doing that. And that started basically at post-pandemic, when the pandemic was, I guess, dying down. I guess that's when I discovered that's what I love about my channel, which is just it's an opportunity to make these projects. Because that's, again, before I made my channel, what we were doing in Video Club were projects. We were making actual films or an actual thing instead of just a quick, me describing my opinion on like my top 10 favorite green Pokemon. There was an April Fool videos, my top 5 favorite greens in Pokemon was an April Fool video one time. But basically I get to do what I did in Video Club nowadays again, because I'm actually making these productions that are like edited instead of just me in front of the camera talking about my favorite thing, and then showing the thing on screen. Like I made my channel was what it was because that's what I like to make, and that's what I was watching. I love watching people's opinions on the things that I love. My favorite like guilty pleasure, I mean, it's not even a guilty pleasure at this point, it's literally just what I do. It's what I watch every single day. What I search up is reactions to the things I like. So I love watching people react to music, love people reacting to anime, reacting to Pokemon, all the things that I love. I like seeing people's reactions to that. So I obviously also like talking about my opinions on these things. So I would still be making opinion videos like this. I try to do once every year basically, but people just don't watch them anymore. But like I would still the channel would still be 50% opinions and fact videos if people still watch them basically. But I'm definitely the most fulfilled I've ever been because I'm making these art videos and these mega collabs. And I mean, that also coincides to why I wanted to become an animator. I wanted to make characters. I wanted to make stories based on things that I like. That's what I'm doing now, I guess. So I'm happy.
Well, it's fantastic to hear. And also, for every creator, I suppose you go through that journey of just throwing paint at the wall and figuring out what your specific niche is. And I'm glad that you're able to find it, and you're thriving so much. And yeah, I think I'm constantly amazed by the creativity coming out of your channel as what's going to be the next topic of discussion, be it an art video or be it costumes inspired by Pokemon and the Pokemon Awards. And yeah, well, it's really exciting to see and thrilled to hear. So now it's time to discover what's going to be the final Pokemon on your Dream Team run.
This one less coincides with the topic and more the era. If we're talking about post-pandemic, the Pokemon that I guess defined my post-pandemic was Floragato. It was the quickest a Pokemon has ever entered my top 5 favorite Pokemon. I've never seen anything like it. It was crazy. I saw the design. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. like this is exactly the kind of thing I like. Because again, it's a perfect Pokemon in my opinion because it's just it's a mixture of cute and cool. It has a perfect, unique concept that other Pokemon do not have with this yo-yo, and it's a genius way of implementing a plant into this Pokemon with like a vine that is and a bud, while still being cool, being unique. It reminds me of some of my favorite anime characters too. If anybody knows Killua from Hunter x Hunter is one of my favorite characters in anime, and he's literally that. Same personality. But like I love also the personality of Floragato too. I love like he can be aloof, but he's still like cool and cute and like will participate, just like Sceptile is more friendly, but like again, this mixture of contrasting elements in a perfect way where nobody thinks Floragato is an unsuccessful concept and design. So I think it's successfully married all of its contrasting elements. It's also green. Also, I guess while I love Sprigatito, and it was the one I chose even before I saw the evolutions, it wasn't like my favorite starter ever, but instantly I was like, whoa, like you became that. Like I was not ready for the evolution to be one of my favorite Pokemon ever. Like, and also to be like, it's literally the only not fully evolved Pokemon in my top 10. And Wooper used to be in my top 10. It isn't anymore. It's like in my top 30. I think it's the only in the top 20 that isn't fully evolved. That's crazy.
And it's great to see a Pokemon that isn't fully evolved making it onto your Dream Team. I'm all about upping our love for those middle stages. They can be a destination in themselves. It's not just a stop that we're passing through, And
it's funny because like my favorite Pokemon, its middle stage in the line, Grovyle, is probably definitely in the top 2 most popular middle stage Pokemon. So it's like so people like I love Grovyle more than the average person, but I don't. It's not my favorite middle stage Pokemon, and it's not because Floragato exists. Yeah. But it's also like not my favorite in the line. I love Sceptile, while the average person may like not Floragato, may love Grovyle more. Some, at least. So it's very unexpected, I guess.
I guess Floragato also has that cutting element with its claws.
It really I do, so, I'm telling you.
It all makes sense. So this means, Ron, that your dream team is Absol, Volcarona, Zangoose, Sceptile, Vaporeon, and Floragato.
That is correct.
Now I have to ask you, which of these are you going to choose to be your partner Pokemon?
Sceptile.
Sceptile, yeah, there it is. The favourite Pokemon joining the fray. And I mean, so, if we go over the rest of your dream team, we have 2 Generation 3, Sceptile and Zangoose. No, 3 Generation 3. Absol, Sceptile, and Zangoose. We have Volcarona, Generation 5, Vaporeon 1, and then Floragato 9. So it is actually quite a good
it's
quite
wide,
a good spread
but it's not like
the generation.
If I look at my list of top 50, the ones that are the one that's most represented is Generation 5. I even did the math.
Okay.
And then tied for second is Generation 7, 8, and 9. Apparently just a lot of my favorite in my top 50 at least. Wow. Not my top 10. My top 10 is more leans towards Generations 3 and 1, but like and 5, but like top 50, apparently Gen 7 to 9 I like. Even though Generation 9 wasn't my favorite in terms of Pokedex. But I guess the peaks, the highs, like Floragato, Ceruledge, stuff like that, are pretty high, I guess.
Really interesting. And Sceptile, of course, you've got that story behind that fateful class where you had to design a logo and it became the logo of your channel too and representing your love of Generation 3. So Sceptile's your favourite Pokemon. Is that also your favourite Pokemon design?
Nah, I don't... It's not like the one that I think is objectively the best design. I obviously naturally will gravitate towards it. If I were to like sit down and make a top 50 best designs, which I would like to do, but I think I made something like that in the past. But like, if I look at my top 50, ones that are like better designed, like Rayquaza is my third favorite Pokemon. That is probably a better design than Sceptile. Yeah. Arcanine is my second favorite Pokemon, but it's not like, I think it's a perfect Pokemon. Like there's literally no flaws for it, but in terms, it's not like the most genius design because it's literally just a combination of 2 things that already worked, like a guardian lion and a dog. It's like, like, Samurott is a controversial thing for me to say, but it's in my top 10, and I think it has the most genius design of the top 10 in my opinion. Although, in terms of like, again, taking an otter, a samurai, implementing the fact that otters use tools, they put them in their pockets like shells and rocks, and then use them. It makes so much sense for him to be a samurai otter, and the way he's designed looks so cool, at least to me. But just having an amazing concept and the way they implement it doesn't make it mean it's like a more successful design. Maybe there are things that are unsuccessful about it because I mean it's not the most popular Pokemon ever, so I understand. But I think I'm looking at my list. If we're taking genius design, but also just successful execution, the 2 that are coming up, other than Floragato, I just may be biased, but I think Floragato is an answer for that. I think Floragato may be better designed than Sceptile. But Decidueye, I think, really is a flawless Pokemon, if you think about it. And then Metagross. Metagross isn't genius in terms of like concept, because it's not like they married a lot of things that are genius together, but the execution. I mean, Metagross is pretty like one of the most epic Pokemon in the world. Malamar is a personal thing, but I think that's a perfectly executed Pokemon. The personality is a big deal. Like they executed the personality perfectly in design. Like he looks malicious, but also the genius idea of combining a vampire squid with a cuttlefish and the hypnotic way that a cuttlefish can disguise itself, and but also turning that into lights that hypnotize prey. Super genius. Corviknight is a flawless design. Again, not genius. It's a night crow, but the execution is genius. So if we're looking at everything, okay, Dragapult is probably like a genius design. If we're looking at everything, in my top 50 at least, genius designs that are flawless, that are maybe better than Sceptile is, Floragato, Decidueye, Dragapult, Malamar, I want to say, but it's not like it's a perfect Pokemon because it's like, that's not the type of Pokemon that everybody would like. But for what it is perfect. So it'll be hard to say the number one. I can say Floragato. Maybe Floragato I picked because I think it's the perfect design. Maybe, Floragato. Wow. I think it's a perfect Pokemon too. Because it's cute and cool. If you like cool Pokemon, you'll like it. If you like cute Pokemon, you'll like it. While, for example, Metagross, if you like cute Pokemon, you're not going to like it.
Sure.
Floragato is for everyone.
Yeah.
Sceptile's not for everyone. Floragato is for everyone and was executed perfectly. Floragato is the best design Pokemon. That's why I picked it.
Hashtag Floragatos for everyone. Let's get that trending. Wow, okay. Really insightful to see just how much Floragato means to you there. Amazing to get your insight into some of those top 50 as well and what you look for in a successful design. But now, different kind of question for you, Ron. If you were a Pokemon, what do you think you would be?
People always say, like, Smeargle because he draws, but, like, I don't think I have the personality of a Smeargle. Naturally, I've always said Sceptile because he's just chill, likes walking around, he's a nice guy, he's green, but it's not like I'm the king of the jungle. I'm not as agile as him. But I think I'm as chill as him sometimes. He's definitely more chill than I am. I probably am more personality. No, I'm not like a Floragato. He's like, I'm not a cat. I'm not like a cat. Decidueye is surprisingly friendly. Like he tries to be aloof, but he's a goofy guy. So, Rillaboom may actually... Okay, I'm not as buff as a Rillaboom. But he, again, is an artist. He's surprisingly friendly and docile. Oh, yeah. So that's closer. I was thinking Wooper, but nah. I have a lot of aloof Pokemon. A lot of my favorite Pokemon are aloof. And I'm not aloof. So, I don't know if you can see. Hydrapple over there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of like a Hydrapple in terms of personality. Not design or concept. I'm not sticky. But... Because that's the problem. Is like, you have a Pokemon that, like, design-wise and concept-wise, maybe that's me. But personality-wise, like, I'm not like a Smeargle or vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, personality-wise and, I guess, artistically and I love music too. Okay, yeah, the answer is Rillaboom. The answer is Rillaboom.
There we go. Yeah, I was going to say, when you said Hydrapple... Obviously, its signature move is Fickle Beam. I don't necessarily
I'm not that fickle.
Look at you and think you're fickle. I think, Rillaboom, I mean, the artisticness, or the artistry from music representing that art as well, and the fact that you love music, and it's a grass type. Yeah, I can see it. I think your hair's got a bit of growing to do before
it's never
you
gonna get
replicate that.
It can't. It physically cannot be that long. But as a kid, I had an afro. I had like a curly afro. So, no.
Oh, wow. There we go. Okay. Another perfect reason. But what do you all think? Do you agree that of all the Pokemon, and more than 1,000 at this point, Ron would be a Rillaboom? We would be fascinated to read your opinions on that. And speaking of you all, it's time for your community questions. Post online, as I always do, asking for questions for Ron. Had so many suggestions and really fantastic ones. Thank you so much for them. I apologise I won't be able to feature all of them. And I apologise if I mispronounce any of your names or handles. Kicking things off here with Gym Leader JC on YouTube. Overall, which Pokemon original soundtrack is your favourite and why?
That's a good question. So, there's, again, my whole life is trying to juggle between subjective and objective, what I like the best and what I think is the best. Or like what I like the most and gravitate towards versus what I think if I were to critique what is the best. So, I think the Generation 5, so if you can combine Black and White and Black and White 2, is the Unova soundtrack, is the most complete soundtrack. It has everything. And it's probably also the biggest if you combine those two, technically. But, like, Game Freak, what's the opposite of lazy?
Proactive?
That soundtrack, they did everything they could and thought of. Like, again, in any other region, before or after, if there were 5 bridges, let's say, technically, let's say 6 connections, because also if you include the tunnel. Like, if you have 6 bridges and tunnels, they would have either the same theme or wouldn't even have a theme. They would have the theme of the route that they're on. But in Unova, each one has their own theme, their own music. So, but the question is, do I love all the music? Yeah, well, I love all of them. I don't think there's a bad music, but is it my favorite? Like, or those individual tracks my favorite? I don't know. Definitely contender for second. If we're talking about what, like, my favorite at the time, at least, I don't know if I like now. at the time at least, I think my favorite. So here are the contenders. The Generation 5, for the reason I said. Generation 7, I just love the music from Generation 7. It's so atmospheric while still being melodic. Way more diverse than you think for a Hawaiian-based region. You think, just tropical sounding music. It isn't. It's a lot of variety, a lot of experimentation that I think was successful because of, you have ultra beastie kind of sounds, you have weird sounds, but it works and it makes total sense. A lot of the Generation 7 soundtrack, I'm listening to all the soundtracks every day, but Generation 7 just works the most in terms of like background music. But Generation 9 has the highest peaks. Sorry for this crazy answer. Generation 9 has my favorite peaks. I think some of the best tracks in all of Pokemon are from Scarlet and Violet. It's crazy how good they are. But overall, as a soundtrack, it's not the best. So, if we're just asking what's my personal favorite, the answer is Generation 7. If you're asking what my favorite tracks are, a lot of them are in Generation 9. If you're asking what's the best critically, because I do like analyzing the soundtracks, I even I have a series on my channel, the answer is Generation 5. That's my in-depth answer.
I love this podcast is all about in-depth answers, and again, what you said very early on about being subjective versus as objective as possible. I think another really underrated aspect of Generation 5 is specifically in Black and White 2, the gym theme remixes for each one. I love that. So many of them. The bug one I love, but my favourite is probably the electric one, where a new element of the music is introduced for each trainer that you meet.
I constantly just
sort of pumping bass, and then it adds an.
I quote that theme because it has lyrics. Like I'll say, "Give me what I need" a bunch of times. Or even like the Roxy's gym, the Verbank gym. She just spells Pokemon, and I'll sometimes sing that. But I guess the thing that we forgot to mention of Generation 5 soundtrack, again, this really goes to show that it really is probably objectively the best, is that it has the whole interactive music, where as you walk, the drums will fill in, in the roots, or you will basically be able to create the full soundtrack based on who you talk to in towns. And also, you have the music that appears when you're at the last Pokemon in the gym battle. They went extra.
Yeah.
So
and when your Pokemon's on low health,
one of the best.
That new thing wow, fascinating. That was a really excellent question. Thank you very much to JC for that, and thank you for your answer, Ron. Now, okay, I'm going to pronounce it Renegade TLA 9331. Would like to know, what is your favorite part of the community that you've built?
Favorite part? Well, the people, honestly, 99% of everybody that I interacted with is perfect. They're cool people I would want to even become even more friends with. I also have some of my best friends are from the community because of just talking. So you naturally want to say the people. Favorite part of the community? I mean, the art, honestly. What's so cool about Pokemon is that you can see a Pokemon in the game and you're like, it's okay. But then I'll go on social media and you will see a piece of art, whether it be official or unofficial, and it literally changes my opinion on the Pokemon. I think Pokemon probably has the best artist community of all franchises. You'll have, I was going to say bigger franchises, but no, Pokemon is the biggest franchise. So it's but the point is that other franchises, I guess video game franchises do have the best art community, but for example, film franchises, I would assume Star Wars, MCU, doesn't have that many art, or it has art, obviously, just like any franchise, but it's not as creative as Pokemon artists, Pokemon fans are the most creative fan artists in the world. The music, okay, to be fair, the Pokemon music community, that's a big deal for me. That's literally changes my life. That's literally what I'm consuming probably the most out of anybody, covers and remixes. So probably the Pokemon music community.
Okay, well, as you say, it's so multifaceted. Thank you very much for that answer. Now, Splash12 would like to know, what's your biggest hope for the future of the franchise?
I guess my favorite aspect is the main series of the game. I I guess it would be awesome if Gen 10 is like Generation 9 with the open world, but with the well thought out routes and locations and like layouts of previous generations. Even though I think Generation 9's like overworld layout of like, again, the open, like the routes, quote unquote, the provinces, is better than like the wild area of Generation 8. No, we're going to make a platform here so that you can go up this platform into the next platform so that you can find an item there, and then down there there's a cave, and then like that would be, if they can implement that in an open world, that would be, oh my god, that would be the best Pokemon game. Okay. Obviously, the rest is just what everybody else wants. Pokemon. I want to see more Pokemon than everybody. Like, that's a personal one.
Well, I think you won't be disappointed on that latter front. I would hazard a guess. But yeah, okay. I love how specific that answer was as well. Thank you for your question, Splash12. And now, final question here from Wahid Abdullah 6371. And again, apologies for any mispronunciations. If you could choose one Pokemon to become for 24 hours, which would it be?
I assume Mew is a cheat. Like, that could be every other Pokemon as well.
You mean like the GD, but wish for more wishes?
Literally
sort of thing. Yeah, but you could, I mean, if it's Mew, there are no rules here. There are no rules here, Ron.
It could be Mew. It could be Goldengo, and then I can have some some coins.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of a Pokemon that...
Although you'd have to remove them from your own body, I guess.
I assume it does not feel bad.
I guess it makes it rain, yeah.
He's happy when he's doing it, when he's making it rain.
True.
I'm trying to think of a Pokemon where like the effects would be positive even long after that 24 hours, you know? Could be a Suicune. Could, you know, make the water pure.
Oh, yeah.
But then why isn't just normal Suicune himself doing it? Like, why do I have to do it? Is this in the real world or in the Pokemon world? If it's in the real world, then I guess, yeah, Suicune, so I can be like... Is there a Pokemon that cures diseases? Yeah. I mean, there's healing Pokemon, but I don't know if that... It would be, alright, maybe it would be the smartest Pokemon, so I can come up with all the things, write them down quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe like a Metagross.
Yeah.
But then, honestly...
Yeah. You don't have hands, though, yeah. So
yeah. I can use like...
Alakazam.
If it could be... Yeah, it could be Alakazam. I don't know if Alakazam... Yeah, he can hold a pencil. Yeah,
I think so. If he holds a spoon, he can hold a... Yeah.
It probably would be Alakazam. If the answer is that if he does truly know the answers. Like...
Yeah. It's a really interesting way of framing it. Yeah, what can have an impact after I've stopped being the Pokemon? Well, thank you again for all of your questions there. And if you'd like to submit a question for a future guest on Chazingdra Chats, then find my socials at Chazingdra on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok too. But the former three, and on YouTube as well, where I post the call-outs for questions for my guests. I would love to hear what you'd love to hear. All right, then, Ron. So we've heard a lot about you up to now, but what's next for you?
Next is more of the same, but better. That's what we all hope in general. In our own lives. Are we talking about literally just the things that are public, or even things, you know, just in my normal life?
Up to you, however you want to define it, yeah.
Again, I'm moving closer to the center of New York City to get closer to the people, my friends. But then also, it's just like, because of that, I think I'm going to make more... I haven't made... So, again, the arts side of my channel started with that series where I would go on walks, right? And make Pokemon. But slowly people stopped watching that series, just like any series. And I stopped, even I stopped making it for like 2 years, and then I made one episode again. Nobody really watched it. Obviously, whoever watched it, loved it, was like, wants more, but it's not a series that stays on the channel, at least video form. But I may continue it as a shorts, like YouTube Shorts and TikToks or whatever. Because I'm moving towards more exciting, to a more exciting location. So it's like, I might as well do more shorts where I'm going on walks, looking at the things, and just basically I'm moving all the things that don't work on the channel as videos anymore to shorts so that I can do them again. That's basically what's new on the channel and my life, technically.
All the best to you for your move, and yeah, I'm sure it will inspire all those creative juices to flow even more than they already are. And great to be able to sort of repurpose some of the content you did before that you want to have in a different format. And our final question for you, Ron. Looking back from now, successful Pokemon content creator, all the way back to the young Ron, whose, initial experience with Pokemon was Generation 1, but it was Generation 3 that really spoke to them, did not know how to access the second half of Hoenn. What advice would you give to that younger you, besides, of course, you can get surf from the house next to the gym?
It would have nothing to do with Pokemon.
Okay.
It would be way more social. Like, obviously, like when you get social anxiety, it literally is just because of lack of exposure. The literal only cure of social anxiety disorder or social anxiety in general is just talking. Is just talking to other people. So I would want to exercise that muscle way more as a child, so I don't develop anxiety as an adult. But I mean, because as like a kid, like I was doing things that would slowly. I was adding straw to the camel's back, even though it didn't break yet. So, for example, as a kid, because I had video club, I wouldn't sit in the cafeteria in high school. Mostly because I didn't like being tight in a space next to other people while eating. Like I'm easily disgusted by teenagers eating, I guess. So I'm like, I don't want to be in the cafeteria. So I would quickly eat it in like a random room while watching videos or doing homework, and then would go to video club and film something for like 20 minutes. So that even that small thing of just not getting used to interacting with people in the cafeteria slowly adds on. Or like, for example, in college when I would commute back to home instead of taking people's offers to go to lunch, you know. So that those honestly it's weird. It's food related. It's like food related social anxiety cures where it's like, nah, you should, when people ask you to go to eat with you should accept it as a kid.
Very wise advice indeed. So thank you for sharing that, Ron. And the chat does not end there, because we will shortly be getting into TRUEGREEN7 or Ron's Rapidash round. Nice. 15 or so minutes of bonus questions that Ron has not prepared for. And there's so much I want to know more about. I want to hear more about Ron's favourite animals, for example. Clearly something that's quite important to Ron based on all of the designs that he's absorbed over the years. Favourite artist as well, beyond Pokemon or including it. The favourite of the Pokemon that Ron has created. I want to ask him to create a new type that you think would have the coolest designs, specifically. The favourite of Ron's videos that are on the channel right now. All sorts of things like that. If that sounds of interest to you, then you... Okay, good. Well, you heard it from the man himself. You can become a YouTube channel member to access the Rapidash rounds. That's 4 bonus videos per month, since it's a weekly podcast. Or, of course, on my Patreon as well, where you can access them individually. Fundamentally, though, really appreciate the fact that you've listened to this episode in its entirety. But if you want to get to know Ron a little bit better, then do join me on Patreon or become a YouTube channel member, and plenty more perks besides. But Ron, for now, thank you so much for joining me on Chazingdra Chats. It's been so insightful hearing your perspective on things, and I know that people will have got a huge amount from it. So
thank you.
No, it's been my pleasure. And if people want to keep up with you online, where can they find you?
TRUEGREEN7 on YouTube, TRUEGREEN7 on Twitter. I think it's TRUEGREEN7 Ron or TRUEGREEN Ron on Instagram, but it's not like I post it. TRUEGREEN7.
Just put that in, you'll likely find the right places. And now time for a bit of YouTube spiel from this side of things. If you've enjoyed, everybody, please do, once more, like and subscribe. As Ron can attest to, really so important. And if you're listening on Spotify, then leave a rating and review. Those go such a long way as well. Drop a comment, because Ron, as with all my guests, have given us so much food for thought. We'd love to know your thoughts on what Ron has shared with us. And if any of Ron's Dream Team picks tie in with any of your own, got more than 50 other episodes of the podcast on the channel at this point. A broad range of guests, competitive guests, to more casual players like Ron or creators. Pokemon Go, Pokemon Unite, Pokemon VGC, Pokemon TCG, it's all there. There's bound to be something for everyone, and spread the word about the show. You can use the hashtag 6Pokemon, 1 life story, and also my channel. I stream competitively, I stream casually, including shiny hunting, and I stream challenge runs, currently doing a Soul Link Nuzlocke with Cyrus VGC, Lee Provost, a fellow caster of mine, in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. It's a lot of fun. Do join us for that. I vlog events that I cast, I make silly Pokemon comedy skits. If you're a fan of everything that the Pokemon video games have to offer, then my channel is the place for you, and I'm at Chazingdra on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok, as I said. Have a follow along on there. Join my Discord community, hop into Chazingdra's Chocolate Factory and join the merry folk. Be a pleasure to have you in there. The link is in the description below, along with all the other links of everything I'm saying here. And that being said, Ron, it's time to get into your Rapidash round. So if you're not joining us over on Patreon for that, then it's goodbye from Ron.
I've always wanted to be part of a Patreon section of a podcast.
Great. Well, you get that now, and that is your farewell to everyone, and it's goodbye from me. See you next time on Chazingdra Chats, where there'll be another 6 Pokemon, 1 life story. Alright then, Ron, so, you've always wanted to be part of a Patreon section. How are you feeling about these bonus questions now?
It feels like this is the meat. This is what I wanted to answer the entire time.
Alright, well, perfect. Heard it here first, everybody. Get over to Patreon and become a YouTube channel member to access this. But let's start off with your favourite animals, because I feel like surely there must be a love of the animal kingdom there, given what you do now.
I don't think Pokemon changed my favorite animal. It already existed before Pokemon. It is the